Hi, Chris Popper here in Bangor, and I'm joined by Matt Haney and Ruth Poland from MDI High School. And of course, we all know Matt, who is the principal down at the high school. Ruth, what do you teach, and what is your position there at the high school?
So I'm a science teacher. I teach freshman biology and environmental science. I'm also the mentor for the eco team, and I'm recently the leader for the freshman teacher team.
Okay, and that's kind of what we're talking about because the freshmen all had a field trip within 2 days of going to school, and it was an overnight field trip. Tell us a little bit what happened. And I guess how many freshmen were involved? How big is the freshman class? And I think it went by advisory too, I think. So tell us, and I'll interrupt because I do that. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so maybe I can back up a little bit and just say when I was teaching at a middle school, I taught eighth grade math and science, and every year we would take students in the fall, the whole class, to Kiev for community building and team building and communication skill building. And so I kind of came to the high school with that in the back of my mind, and I've been thinking about it and hoping to integrate it into our school, especially since I've been involved with more freshman classes. So it was kind of simmering for a while in my brain, and there were a number of other teachers here and staff who had gone to Kiev or knew about it. So we were really excited when this finally came to fruition. So we started planning last spring, and the idea was to get as much of the freshman class as possible on this field trip early on so that we could set the stage for a lot of the community that we're hoping to build throughout the year. So Camp Kieve is similar to many camps in the area. It runs a summer camp, but in the shoulder seasons, it has what it's called the leadership school, and they have a whole curriculum that's based around their core values of kindness and respect. They give all the staff that go a book called Kindness and Respect, and it has all these activities that they use to help challenge students and help them build specific skills around self-awareness, self-management, respect, community, communications. So, it's not just fun and games. There's a lot of intentionality and debriefing that happens. But we we were hoping that we could get as many of the students as possible into that program as early as possible. So we had 4 days of school and then the 3-day Labor Day weekend. And then we went to Camp Kieve. We had to meet at school at 7 a.m. So that was a big challenge for a lot of students.
Right?
And then we didn't come back on Wednesday until 5. So, it was a big ask for students to leave their athletic teams and their classes for that period of time, especially so early. So I'm really proud that we had um, a really great big group of freshmen. We had 48 students. The freshman class is a little over 100. Um,
Almost half.
yeah, yep, about half attended. Um, yeah, I don't know if I answered all your questions, but
Where is Camp Kiev
oh, yes.
located?
So that's another challenge for us. I would say we're at like the furthest edge of the radius that they would take from. It's a 2.5 hour drive from here. It's in Nobleboro
Okay.
on Lake Damariscotta.
So, and it's obviously an overnight camp. You had cabins with the boys and cabins with the girls. Did you go to this as well?
I did not have the opportunity to go. I had to stay back here and do school. But I'm really excited about the opportunity the students had. Um, we think about, we have this big culminating event at the end for seniors, right? Graduation. That's kind of the end goal. And we thought it would be a really great idea to have an induction event also, and where people come together and um, they start to build those connections to each other, to their advisors, to their teachers. And just to back up even more, I think so much credit goes to Ruth and the freshman team. Last spring, they started really brainstorming, what are the ways that we can build these connections to school, to each other? And they proposed this idea, um, kind of towards the end of the school year, after we'd already met with the incoming freshmen, after we'd met with their parents. and said, let's try this. And we were really entered into it with the spirit of let's see what happens. We think this is going to be great. And it turns out it was. And so no surprise there because of the people involved, both our people and the people at Camp Kieve.
Yeah.
And so it's really a great opportunity to build from here. But just it's that idea of coming together. And one of our big thoughts at school is to be welcoming and inviting, and just including everyone in the fact that we are all better when you're all here, and we're all better when we work together. And this is just a great start to that 4 years of high school for this group of the class of 2028.
I know, kind of scary.
Yeah.
I don't want to think of that. When I mean, you break everything up by advisory. So the kids all spend 4 years with the teacher. They kind of go through, and you have that same advisory or homeroom teacher for those kids throughout the 4 years. How were the advisors able to go as well? And I mean, obviously you couldn't have your advisory group sleep together because they're boys and girls, and right. But how did you break that up, and what did you do from that aspect?
So maybe I can explain a little bit about the day at Kiev.
Yeah.
I can answer that question in that. So when you arrive at Kiev, they break you into your cabin groups. So the cabin groups are one grouping that students have while they're there, but they also have class groups. And the class groups they're in during the day for all of their activities, which include things like they have like a challenge course, they have low ropes course, high ropes course, indoor climbing wall, and then just tons of other community building activities and games. A lot of games that are intentional. So for the cabin groups, which they break out into, they get their stuff to their cabins, they go to a central area, and then they're in their class groups for most of the day.
Okay.
So the cabin groups were broken up by advisory generally. There were some exceptions just to balance numbers. So we'd have like 2 or 3 of the advisors, females, in one cabin, and then 2 or 3 of the male students from those advisories in another cabin. And then the class groups, we really wanted to mix them up completely.
Okay.
And the advisories are created very intentionally to include at least one student that each other student feels comfortable with, that they have at least one person that they can go to, but also combining students from different schools. And so we tried to just kind of take that same philosophy in making the class groups. So we mixed it up to hopefully be balanced with gender and also the schools that they were coming from, and to mix up the advisories. So they're
Like
really
descending schools like Trenton or
yes.
Connors Emerson. Okay.
Yeah, they're sending schools, which they're still very much identifying with when they get here. They've only been a Trojan for 4 days.
So, I mean, one of the things that I've always been amazed at and heard was that the freshman class is taught the Boogaloo. Did you do that? I mean, to me, listen, I sit up in the stands. I love the Boogaloo. I mean, to me, that's like the best thing in the world. But I mean, if you're not a member of the Trojan family, you're looking over there and you're going, "Oh my God, what are these kids doing? And what are they saying?" And I mean, but that's something that happens at like every sporting event. And it's very intentional. And I was told, "Oh yeah, we teach them that." And I was like, "Oh yeah, how else would they learn that?" Right? But did you do that or no?
We did not. We
Okay.
haven't taught them that yet officially. I think at the first pep rally, we're gonna have that training session.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. We usually have that first pep rally during homecoming week, and that is you're right. It's very intentionally taught.
Right. I mean,
what to do and maybe what even not to do.
Exactly. That's more important what not to do. What was the best thing about the event? And then I'm going to ask the tough question, probably how much did it cost roughly? I mean, because everybody's probably going, "Oh my God, my taxes," but what, right? But
Yeah.
What was the best part of this?
So it's really hard to choose just one. I think so there were 10 staff that attended, and unfortunately, not all of us were freshman advisors. I think, it's one of those things. I wish everybody could come as a
Right.
staff. We had 10 folks join us, and we had 6 of the freshman content teachers, and then we had a guidance counselor, a nurse, and 2 special ed folks. Um, and I think just connecting with them and watching the staff connect with students in really different ways and seeing them outside of the context of class, um, and seeing them be super successful in these things that we would find challenging. Like they had students climbing up a telephone pole, standing on the top of the telephone pole, and then leaping off to grab onto a trapeze. And us staff are just like standing there with our hearts in our throats. And
Holy, right.
and seeing these young people doing that sort of work and communicating so beautifully with each other and responding so well to the Kiev staff was, for the staff, I think that was a huge takeaway. And I think all of us came back here being like, oh, we have to do this again. We want to, like, make sure everybody comes next year and expand it. And for students, well, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but we have done a survey, and I can, that was one of our questions was kind of that, and I could read you some of the quotes from
Sure.
that, if you like.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. So, one of the questions we asked was, if you could describe this experience in one word, what would it be? We had a lot of fun, new, productive, interesting, good. Some of the most important takeaways. Teenagers are really loud.
That
Um,
was a teacher. I mean, right.
yeah, yes. We have teamwork, people's names, friendships I made, meeting new people I would not have met without this experience. Better teamwork and communication skills. Don't judge others because you don't know what's happening in their life. Meet new people and try new things. Meeting people. We also asked, how can we bring back lessons from Kiev to continue to build a positive community in the freshman class? So folks responded, be kind and respectful, keep going on team building stuff, keep working together, continue having fun projects to work on if we want to in our free time. All the games were fun and seemed important. I think that's what that one says. Talk, talk, talk. Talk more about things. Help others around you, even if you don't know them. We can learn to work as a team, talk to new people. And there's a unanimous support from the responses we have, unanimous support for returning in future years, having freshmen go in future years.
I mean, it sounds all very positive and community building. And, as everybody starts their freshman year, those are the kind of, how was your day? Well, listen, this is what we did. And this is how, we're trying to make MDI High School a more inviting place, a more inclusive place. Um, Sounds great. How much did it cost, Matt, roughly? I mean,
Go ahead if you want
I
to.
can tell you, yeah.
oh, sorry.
So the total was $10,000, and
Yeah.
that was assuming that we were bringing, like, we could have brought more students on that fee. When I surveyed other programs, when we were first thinking about this, I looked at many other similar programs around the state. They cost more like $30,000, and this one is incredibly inexpensive for what we're getting, in part because half of the cost of running the program is funded by grants that Kiev already has. So when they send us their invoice, it's got, 20,000 some dollars on it, but 10,000 is taken right out of it. We don't have to apply for it. It's just provided by Kiev's funding itself. So I feel like for the, 10,000 is a lot of money, but for the cost, it's an incredible experience.
Well, I mean, when you figure you've got like 50, 60 people there, it's not that much per individual,
Yeah.
but I think obviously it sounds like a very enriching program as you begin the school year. And I mean, from my standpoint, as someone outside looking in, but yet my wife is a teacher. I mean, to have those positive steps that first week of school, I mean, yes, you've got step up days, but that happens back in May or June. I mean, just to have that first interaction with your fellow classmates, with your teachers, who you're going to be spending your next 4 years with, to have that be so positive. I mean, it sounds like a great job and a great deal, and it sounds like it's worthwhile continuing down the road.
Yeah, I hope so. One limiting factor is by the time we called Kiev, this was the only night that they had available. So they're clearly in high demand around the state.
Yeah,
So I hope, planning ahead this year, we can have a little more control over when we go and, make it work for as many people as possible.
awesome. What
Yeah.
didn't I ask you that you want to tell about the program?
Well, I feel like one of the things that is unusual about Kiev is that they provide the staff who attend with some training ourselves on social emotional learning. And they have a
Prior to or during?
during, and then they give us this the book of all of their activities, and in particular they help us um, kind of practice and apply the debrief process that they use, which is very similar to Project Adventure. Many camps have this sort of thing, but to just have it laid out for us so that we can bring it back into the classroom, I feel like the experience will pay dividends throughout the year because we'll be able to run some of this program in an effective way to continue, implementing the same sorts of SEL programming. And they can only do so much in 24 hours or whatever we had
Right.
with them, but it was a great start, and it's something that I know the freshman team is going to be talking about and trying to implement more and more. For example, we've all chosen, or we're going to choose, activities from their book that we want to implement in our class. We'll share them with each other so there isn't too much repetition, and then we can do the debrief process and come back as a team to figure out, like, how did it go? How can we improve it? Are these activities appropriate? How can we connect them to our curriculum? So that's something I'm really looking forward to continuing as well.
Why don't you tell everyone who are the members of the freshman team?
Oh, sure. So it's me, Ruth Poland, and my bio teaching partner, Lydia Stiles. It's also the freshman social studies teachers, which are Keith Eaton and Beth Blugerman, and freshman English, which is Casey Rush and Miranda Snyder.
Excellent. All
Yeah.
right. And the nurse who went there was
Sure. So Tammy Underwood, she was
okay.
fabulous.
Yeah,
Mark Carrigan, the freshman guidance counselor, came, and also Andrew Carlson, who's a special ed teacher, and Noreen Hogan, who is a ed tech at the school.
excellent. All right, Matt, anything you want to add other than you want to go next year? I mean,
Yeah, we're going to have to plan it better so that I can be there. Um, I just two things that I'd like to add. One, if there happens to be either a current eighth grader or a current eighth grader's family, I would really like to encourage people to get excited about this possibility, something to look forward to. I know, I mean, they just started eighth grade and they're probably not thinking about high school yet. And like, this is what we're thinking of. And this is the way that we really want to have this introductory experience as a Trojan to be a great, meaningful, and long lasting one. And so looking forward to that for future years. And then, I talked about my philosophy earlier about being welcoming, being, trying to bring people on, building connections. Another philosophy I have is the people that are doing the work know best how to do the work. And so I will just say this team that put this idea together, this wasn't like, hey, I said, hey, come up with something. No, they came up with, the teachers came up with the idea and said, we'd really love to do this, and planned it. We worked in the office to figure out the mechanism for payment. But other than that, this is an idea generated by the teachers who are doing the work, executed by the teachers who are doing the work, and then refined. And I think when you have great people doing great work, my job is the easiest one in the world. I can say yes, and makes us all look good. So thank you for the team for putting that together.
all right. sounds like a fantastic experience. I want to thank you for joining me today, taking time out from your prep periods, and thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chris.